Hello again, this is Tom with Real Six String, and today's lesson we're going to be finishing off what we started last week, and we're going to have the whole rest of the song of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. This is a really important lesson in your musical journey because it covers power chords, how to move them around, and how to use them effectively. We're going to have a full breakdown of the song where I break down each of the different sections. We're going to go through the introduction, the verse, and the breakdown. Of course, if you fancy working on the solo, I've already got a video from last week, which I'll link in the video here. But first off, this is what the song sounds like. So this is a really important lesson in your musical journey because it covers power chords, how to move them around, and how to use them effectively. And your power chords are one of the earliest steps of learning to do bar chords as well, which are a major part of playing guitar. The first part of the lesson is just going to be learning how to make up our F5 power chord. So what we're going to have to do is put our first finger on the first fret of our sixth string. Then we're going to follow that up with our third finger on the third fret of the fifth string, and then directly beneath it on the fourth string we have our little finger as well. So those are the three notes that we're looking to carry on for our power chord. But of course, if you strum it and you've got all of the other open strings, it doesn't sound quite so good. So there's two options here. One is to strum just those three strings, which can be quite difficult when you're strumming. Or we can use this first finger here and lie it down over all of the strings just so it mutes them. So if I played them all separately, it's holding down the sixth string, then the next two fingers are holding down the fifth and fourth strings, and then from 3, 2, and 1 are just going to be muted. So they're going to make a small sound, but when we're doing them all together, they don't ring out quite so much. Okay, so they're not going to ring out above the other notes that we are playing. So on top of that, if you keep it muted, you also get that really sort of percussive strumming sound out of the guitar, which is also going to be something that we use quite a lot. So that is our power chord shape. Wherever you move it, wherever you take it to, it's going to be a power chord, so it's a really fundamental movement and a really fundamental chord shape in guitar. All right, so the first part of the strumming here, what we're going to have, and it's slightly unusual to start on the up strum, but we're going to have a strum of up, up, down. So on the first chord there, once you've got it in place, you're doing an up, up, down, which will sound like. So it's just up, up, down. We follow that along with that muted sound we were talking about before. So we're going to try and keep this shape in our left hand because we're just going to be moving it around. If you take the whole shape out of your hand, it takes a lot longer to make the chord up again. But what we're going to do here is just relax it so that none of the strings are being held down. So it just mutes them. And after we've done our up, up, down, we're then going to do down, up on all the muted strings. And that's just going to sound like. Okay. And then we're going to move this whole shape downwards by a string. So your first finger's now here on the fifth string. Then your third finger on the fourth string. and your little finger's going to be on the third string. So with this one, we're going to use the same logic we had before with your first finger, because you want it to be laid across all of the other strings so that they don't ring out. But now, also, if you can, have it holding down the 5th string and also blocking the 6th string. Stops everything from running out and sounding a little too muddy. That can be quite hard to do at first, so if you need to, just start making your chord shapes, start getting used to the movements and the strumming, and try and work that in separately. And when we're on that other chord, that's a B flat 5, which is also a power chord. We're just going to do 2 down strums, and that's the end of the first half of the phrase, which is just... Okay, so to hear the whole thing through, we're going to play... Okay, so that is the whole first half of the main riff. And then we move this power chord, which is on our B flat, all the way up to the 4th fret on the 6th string. So this is quite an important part. It's your first finger and the note that it's on that determines what the chord is. The shape, as we've worked out, is your power chord or your 5th chord shape. And then wherever the first finger lands determines what chord it is. So when I say the power chord on the 4th fret of your 6th string, what that means is that first finger here is going to land on the 6th string on the 4th fret, and then your other fingers are going to make up the power chord shape above it. Okay? And the next thing we're going to do, the second half of that phrase, is to do exactly the same thing we've done in the first half, but starting from the 4th fret. So you're going to do the up, up, down on the power chord here, which is going to be your... And then relax it, just so that you're muting all of the strings. Do your down, up, down, up. And then you move that whole power chord shape there down by a string. So now once again your first finger is muting all of the separate strings that we don't need, including the top one, and then you're going to do your 2 down strums to finish. And to hear that whole part through, we're going to have 3, 4. Okay, so try and get those chord shapes in first. The power chords are really fundamental movement on guitar. And then once you've got those, get the other muted strings as well, and then get the changes in. Straight after our intro, we've got our verse, which comes in 2 slightly different parts. So the first part is going to sound like this. And the second part will sound like this. So the verse is very simple. All it requires is that you put your first finger laid down across the 1st fret on both your 1st and your 2nd strings. So make sure it's nice and flat. It's really easy to curve it up. Your fingers with other chords often want to be a little bit more arched. So with these, make sure it's nice and flat and holding both of them down. And those are the only 2 notes we need for the whole verse. Okay, so following that, the first part of the verse, you start on beat 2. So if it goes 3, 4, 1, 2, and. Okay, and that then rings out for the whole bar up until the next time, where once again on beat 2, you play the 2 notes. It can be a little bit tricky to try and get that timing because you're coming in on beat 2 rather than beat 1, which often feels more natural. But with a couple of times practicing through, it will become a much more natural feeling. And the second part of the verse, the exact same 2 notes, so you can keep that hand in exactly the same position. But what we've got to do, we now come in on beat 1, and we're just alternating between the 2 notes, going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it goes. And try and let them ring out as much as you can, and let them ring into each other. In the original song, you run through the first part with just the 6 times rounds, and then you run through the 4 times round. So that's 6 bars on the first one and 4 bars on the second one. But right now we'll have a quick practice. We're just going to do 2 on each one. You can run over it and rewind if you need to, just to make sure we're getting the transition and the timing right. So we're just going to do 2 on each. The final part of the song that we have to learn is the breakdown, which sounds like this. The first chord of the bridge is going to be the F5 power chords, so it should look quite familiar. And we're just going to do 4 down strums on there, which will be the... And then we're going to move all of that up by a fret so that your index finger is now on the 2nd fret and the other ones form the power chord shape above it. So those 2 are both on the 4th fret, and we're going to do 2 down strums on there. And then we're going to bring our middle finger to the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. So it should ideally be in quite a good position from there to be in the right place, which will mean then a quick bend on there. So it's just a small bend, so you don't have to get all of your hand behind it. You can do the just a really quick bend. So to hear that first section over, we're going to have excellent. And then the second half of it, we're going to do another 4 down strums on the F5 power chord. So that's starting off on the 1st fret of your 6th string. So, and then we're going to move all of that down by a string, which is going to mean that it's now starting from the 5th string. So it's the 2nd chord that we played in the introduction. So this finger is now on the 1st fret of your 5th string, and these 2 make the power chord shape up on top of that, which is on the 3rd fret. And you're going to do 2 down strums on there again, and then we're going to move this shape down to the 4th fret of the 6th string. So once again, your first finger here needs to be on the 4th fret of the 6th string, then the other 2 making up the power chord shape on the 6th fret. And just 2 down strums on there as well. And we will have... Okay, so to hear the whole thing through just a little bit slowly is going to be... And in the song, we play the bridge through that whole thing we've just done twice round. The full song structure will be added in with the slowed down track at the end of the video for you to practice along with. Most of the sections stay the same as they're repeated, such as the verse. Every time you play it, you do 6 times doing the first part and then 4 times doing the second part. The choruses each go round 6 times around the main riff. The bridge, you go round twice the section that we've practiced here. And for the solo, which I covered in a separate video, which you should check out, goes 8 times round the main riff underneath the guitar solo. And then the outro, which is the chorus with an extra few added on. So that time, that chorus and the outro together go round the main riff 10 times and then finish back on the F5 chord at the end. And that is the entire breakdown of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. Good luck with the practicing. I hope you managed to benefit from this. Let me know if there's anything you liked, anything that you'd like to see moving forwards. I had a great time making it. Gave me a real chance to delve into the song and work out the little parts of it that I didn't know previously. If you liked the video, please drop a like, please subscribe, be much appreciated. And very best of luck with the practice, and I'll speak to you again.